All right, greetings everyone, and welcome to the overview presentation of week 2 of our college writing course. Okay, first we will listen to Serial episode 2, The Breakup. Go ahead, you're listening to the episode, you're annotating your transcript for your thinking, especially your questions. What kind of questions do you have about the case, about Sarah, about Adnan, about Hay, about any of the evidence they found, about the investigation? Make sure you're recording your thinking as you go, and then of course do your Serial episode 2 discussion board. The questions are here, but they're also listed on the discussion board in D2L. So that is your work for Serial episode 2. Then you're going to be introduced this week to the Curiosity Quest. This is a research assignment. One of the things that we expect of our college level thinkers is that you're constantly curious and you're constantly asking good questions. So because of that, you're going to pick one of your questions over the next 4 episodes, and you will then do a research project on that question. And so this week, just because we're in episode 2, your first quest is not due until episode 4, but it's a good time to kind of know what you're getting into. So this week, you're going to listen to the video where I go over this document here, which is the directions, which is linked here, but the video goes over everything. It also walks you through setting up your presentation and how to use Voicethread and then how to post in the discussion board. And again, all of that does not need to take place until week 4, which is episode 4, but it's good to know, like I said, what you're in for, okay? And then I've given you a sample curiosity quest that I did. Here is my presentation, but then also I gave it to you without audio. This is just a link to my Sway. Instead of PowerPoint, I used Sway. You're free to do that as well if you would like. And then I have just a PowerPoint that I created that's like the bare bones of the slides that you must have, and that is all covered in this document that goes over the directions, and it's explained in the video. So again, the Curiosity Quest introduction is important for you to understand this week because your first one is due week 4. Your second one is due during week 8, which will be episode 8, and the last one is due week 13 when you will have finished the podcast. Okay, this week we're going to get started on our first unit, which is the personal narrative. So this week you'll be reading the introduction that's called Beginning the Personal Narrative. It'll go over what it is, what it means, how to do it, and what you're going to be graded on. So go ahead and read that document. A lot of that is on this slide here, and you can certainly look into that now. But in general, you need to know that you're going to write a story, a well-told story using the dramatic arc, so having a good beginning, rising action, some kind of climax, some kind of falling action, and some kind of conclusion, and that conclusion must give that autobiographical significance, answering the question, so what, why are you telling the story? You must have vivid description. You must also include dialogue. We'll work a lot on description and how to control time. And so those are the things we'll be working on. Another name for this essay is the Remembered Event essay, but again, this document, Beginning the Personal Narrative, goes over all of that. So go ahead and read that. Then when you're done, you're going to do some pre-writing this week, and it is in a discussion board, your private discussion board. That's 7-minute writing this week. I would say do that multiple times because you're going to want to try a couple different stories. And so these are just screenshots of that pre-writing section of that worksheet. This kind of tells you some advice here, as well as, again, just write down all of your ideas, maybe try the first paragraph of a few of them, see what is working for you, because your brain dump of your story is due this week. So you're going to want to work on the pre-writing as soon as possible so that you have done some thinking. I will also check that discussion board during the week, and I'll read some of your ideas and give you some feedback if you have them. You can also email me with questions or come to office hours and talk. But after you read the worksheet, you'll do your pre-writing in your private discussion board so that I can see what you're thinking. Next, you're going to start learning some of the things we will be covering as far as skills for telling a good story and the personal narrative. The first thing is dividing a story into acts. Based on what you're looking at, sometimes it's called breaking a story into acts, sometimes dividing. It means the same thing. How do you break a text down or a story down into its little acts, like if you were going to put it in a stage play. What's Act 1? What's Act 2? What's Act 3? How are you going to break it down into the major support of how the story was told? So in order to do this, this is a Voicethread this week, so you can see this as a screenshot of Voicethread. You know you just have to click on the link and participate where I ask you to. In order to do that, you'll have to print the 3 Little Pigs and the 3 Little Pigs Revised. They are in the D2L content folder. Then you'll be ready to listen and participate in the Voicethread, and then the whole time you're thinking about how you might control time in your narrative. And so we'll talk about all of that in this Voicethread. You'll learn a lot. Students really like this one. Also because I'm using children's literature in order to do it. I do that a lot because it's really easy to teach you concepts with easy text so that then we can apply them to much harder things later. Okay, so you're going to do the Voicethread. Then you're going to do some reflection and learning by from experts. So there's 2 sets of mentor texts this week. The first one is this set. It's School Days by Rose Gibbo and The Physics of Forbidden Love by Malcolm Connor. You are going to read them. You are going to annotate them. You should probably print them so that you can write right on the texts. You're going to annotate them for the 6 traits. And also you're going to be thinking about what about these texts make a good story. Remember, we're learning about what a well-told story is. So how are these texts good stories? What did these authors do that made these texts good stories? Then you have a second set. This time you're really going to be thinking, in addition to the 6 traits, you're also going to be paying attention to some description, the use of dialogue, and how they control time in their story. So looking at these 2 texts, you've got The Good Daughter and also White Food. So 2 sets of mentor texts this week. Remember, these authors we've chosen, they teach you how to tell a good story, so make sure you're learning from these authors. Then you're going to do your personal narrative brain dump. That means you are going to sit down. I would say you can go ahead and wait till Friday, do all of the other work first, and then on Friday, sit down at your computer, give me at least 2 hours at the computer on Friday and tell your story. Just open your brain up, dump your story out, just tell it. You don't need to worry about grammar or spelling. Well, I guess spelling, whatever. They'll be spell checked. But in general, don't worry too much. Just get the story down. Tell it from beginning to end. Don't worry too much about time or dialogue or description yet. I just want to know your story because we can start playing once we have a good story ready to go. So you're going to just write for 2 hours at least. Please get your whole story told. Tell me what happened. That's all your job. Just pretend I'm your friend and you're going to go, oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened. And then you're going to tell me the story. Okay? And so that is due on Friday. That's all for week 2. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you in class on Monday where we'll start our sentence carpentry, which is the grammar component of our class, and I'll also be ready for questions. So have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday for class.